from Chicago. And this is going to be shown in Chicago. He hasn't been in Chicago.
Do they know him in Chicago?
No.
Well, then what the fuck has that got to do with it?
But how about this
Well, the
from
prodigal
Chicago?
returns, you know, that kind of thing.
I think it's hilarious. I personally think it's funny. Alright? I was talking about poets again, you told me. I don't think he's a poet. Ergo,
No, of course not.
I think he is a raconteur, and on that basis, he enjoys talking.
He doesn't.
That's cool. Yeah.
No, but he doesn't claim to be a
It's
poet.
just
He doesn't even claim
as
to be a writer.
person,
Right.
A raconteur is perfect.
That's all cool. Nobody likes to say they have no money. And these kind of friends like Herbert put you against the wall on a thing like that. Say, I'm sorry, but I have no money. Then he goes around saying, well, we have no money. Then they say, bullshit. And then he says, maybe you're right. They denied me. And then, all you have to do is give them
You got a
money.
federal.
Right, a federal case here.
It's a deficit.
Federal case.
He brings up a deficit.
Yesterday, I was all on her side. I said to her, I said, how dare he ask you for monies when he knows full well you'll have it. Then I get down the phone with him and said, I could get you that 20. But the idea was, who's going to come and pick it up? He said, oh, it's very nice of you, Gregory, but I got the 20.
Or invest. The president may also mention contributions and sacrifice. They are interchangeable.
No, I was living with teetotalers. You know what a teetotaler is? Teetotaler is one who hides the whiskey in behind the bookcases. Teetotaler is one who hides the whiskey under the mattress. You never know they drink. Until one day, the whole family finds out. Oh my God, Uncle Harry! They come to see a slip. There was a guy who went through his garbage every day, looking for a bag of dope, an empty bag of
From the
dope.
police,
Not the police, him, so he could write about it and sell it to the newspapers. So you gotta watch garbage. You understand what I'm saying? That's the big source of lots of people getting popped, right, Raj? Tell. Like, I got a one-upmanship on that 76-year-old bastard, and I'm 62. That's a one-upmanship.
79, no? 79.
He went in 79?
No, he is 70.
He's 79, even more so. Even more, he's 79-year-old fart, and here I am, a 62-year-old angel, and, Anyway, being in Dannemora prison, the heaviest prison in New York State, okay? Now, I would like to know the years that he was there and how old he was. So when you have a chance, go and interview him again and put these questions to him. I think it's very important. It's important on one-upmanship with this whole beat thing, that if he has such knowledge on the beat, you know, then ergo I was there before him. Okay? I mean, that's a fact of life. He came into the beat generation very late indeed, with his Eileen and I, or Elise and I. Is that it? Elise and I? That old boring routine. My God, I've got nothing against the man, but that he's a liar. For instance, when I first met him, I gave him $30 to buy me some dope. Of course, he never came back with the $30 or the dope. And so I put him down for it. So how do you think he gets away with it? He says, well, I had to teach Gregory a lesson because he once burned me. Really? I never knew him before that. So he lied. He did lie. And he should admit it. I finally became friends with him. I finally became friends with Herbert. I realized his years, and I realized his contribution in a way. That he was not a literary man, but he certainly was one of the old daddies, one of the old schmeckers who was around in the early game and still alive to tell it, which has great, I hold great respect for that. William Burroughs. Although William Burroughs is another story. William Burroughs is a genius. No, he's divine. Whereas, what's his name? Hunky, I don't think fits into three categories of talent, genius, divine. I think he's just by himself as a philosopher, as a teacher, by having had experience in life. That's it. He was an experiencer, Mr. Herbert Hunky. So it's been said. And if that's going to give you any kind of credibility as being some big deal, what a big deal.
What's that?
Turning the bill on first. I mean, that's one-upmanship again, like me talking about prison. Saying, I've been to the heavyweight prison before that fuck ever been, so here we go with him turning on Burroughs. Well, Burroughs ever took drugs and all that. So it's all one-upmanship game. It's funny. But at least I could say, in all honesty, that I was in that prison before he was. Graduation time.
Would you describe yourself as a fucketeer?
Gregory, at a period was. There was a time,
Since
yes.
you coined the word.
Somebody used that, in a poem. I
Yes,
forget who it was. Somebody used it. So let it get in the dictionary. Yeah.
What was happening?
All right.
Why was it so?
Greenwich Village was mostly a closed-off area in the 40s. Things did not happen until maybe, I would say 10 years after the war. Right? All right, no. 6 years after the war? 5 years after the war. 5 years. The war was over in 1945, and in 1950, when I got out of prison, that was just a coincidence, when I got out of prison, and met Ginsberg and Kerouac and Burroughs in that year, there was also a new life happening with poetry and everything that it took. There was always a little ambition in all of them except Burroughs. Burroughs didn't have it, the ambition. He was a fatalist in a way. But Kerouac had it. Oh boy, he had it. And Ginsberg always knew who the fuck he was. I mean, Hunky had nothing to do with it. Because the first time I heard Hunky's voice was this. I was living around the corner on 15th Street with Ginsberg, near the Port Authority building where helicopters used to land every night. Right over here on 8th Avenue on 15th Street. And his girlfriend, Dusty Marlin, I used to fuck in the apartment. Now, I had fantasies about it because I used to live on 12th Street in a furnished room and look across the street and see this woman take a shit, take a bath, the windows were always open, and fuck. And little did I know the guy she was fucking was Allen Ginsberg. I didn't know it. I didn't know Ginsberg. He and I met in a lesbian bar in 1950 called the Pony Stable on West 3rd Street and 6th Avenue. And I told him about this woman. He says, well, my God, that's Dusty. I'll bring you to right now, you can fuck her. I said, what? I said, yeah. And I went there and I fucked her. The whole thing was so beautifully played out. It was like an Iroquois dream fulfillment. The Iroquois Indian used to have dream fulfillment. If the brave got up in the morning and had a dream about fucking another brave's wife, he'd have to go tell the chief, and he'd have to do it in reality. Because if he lied, he would not go to happy hunting ground. Okay? And they believed this. So that was called dream fulfillment. Extraordinary. And I had dream fulfillment there. Allen Ginsberg gave it to me. Anyway, I'm up there one night with her and Allen. Who comes knocking on the door? At the time, probably the height of his junkiness and all that, the young Herbert Hunky. And Allen would not let him in. He did not want me to be stained, this is what he told me years later, by meeting and knowing Herbert Hunky.
You didn't want
That I'm
to stay?
stained, yeah, that I might take drugs and all that by knowing this guy. So he wouldn't let him in the house. Now that's big news. And Herbert remembers it, and Allen remembers it for sure. Because I remember it. Now this I never told anybody. I'm saving that for my memoirs, but I'll give it to you. All right, on a platter. So he was knocking on the door, begging, and Alan said, "No, you cannot come in." That's why I never met Hunky in the early game. I only met Hunky when the ball game was nigh over. Nigh, you know what that means? Near over. Well, boy, that's pretty good news, isn't it? You got a goodie for me tonight, you fucker. Well, listen, let me turn for the meal and a drinky poo. And I don't think it's going to hurt or insult Herbert or Alan. Especially Alan, he opens his mouth about everything. Laid a hot bear, I say.
You do have an incredible memory.
Oh, yeah. Even Alan doesn't remember certain things. I'm never going to use it against him because I could say things and say, "Oh, you see, you don't remember." I don't do that. I remember the night that he was here recently, he said that I had gotten the information from Bob Rosenthal when I didn't. Dig it. And he insisted, and I said, "Okay, you're right." And he wasn't right. But the guy the next day told him. No, who is it?
John 40.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, Giovanni! Where the fuck you been with all Shelley Day and all that? That was a great night. That was a great night. You gotta admit. Otherwise, the whole Beat Generation wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened. Not through Burroughs and Carrick. They would not have had the energy to push it through. It was me and Alan and Peter that pushed that thing through with our silly actions and all that shit. Not the dignified Burroughs, nor the personal hell Carrick. Open Ginsberg and Gregory.
When did Alan meet Peter? He didn't meet him.
He met Peter, I guess 1953. 54. Yeah. I met him in 1950. I had so much fun with Alan once on the phone. I played on his ass because there was somebody else in the room. I said, "Watch how I play on Alan." So he picked up the other phone and he listened. I said, "Alan, you know, the trouble has been, I was always jealous of you loving Peter and dropping me, who you knew first. And you loved me and you loved my poetry. Then you fall for this fucking dumbass, sick Russian who can't write and spell, and you make him into a poet to go with readings and all that. You ruined my life, Alan, my love life, my everything." And Alan says, "Do you realize what you're saying? Do you know what you're saying?" Yeah, I started laughing. "Yeah, I know what I'm saying, you dumb motherfucker. I know what I'm saying. I'm playing with your ass." It's like he has no sense of humor. Jews know humor, but they have no sense of humor. That's a fact. I mean, you find any Jewish comedian, they got great humor, but no sense of humor. You cannot tell them anything funny. If they don't like it, they're going to get down heavy on your ass. Right?
Because look how serious Lenny Brewster and
Oh, yeah, well, man. But humor they got with golden wings. They are all right with humor, which is, to me, the better thing anyway. And capital H humor. Humor is a powerful tool. It gets rid of all the shit. And I use it in poetry. But to have a sense of humor is a matter of character, you know? And I don't know. What do you think of the character Al? He's a good man. He's a good man, but he's a tyrant.
you're right, he is kind of humorless.
Humorless tyrant, man, but a good man.
Tyrant?
Oh, yeah. I watched him with people. If he yells at them, they all get scared, so he's got them. First of all, if somebody's going to interview him, he immediately puts the interviewer at ease by saying, "No, you're not sitting right. You should face it this way." Alan takes over, tells you how to sit, where to be, and he says, "Now you know what you're going to ask me and all that." See? That's Alan. And he plays it straight-faced, whereas the guy becomes uncomfortable. And I've watched him at this game a long time. But you can get people away if you scream at them. Hitler used to do it all the time. Scare the shit out of people by yelling at them. Oh. And Alan will always yell, "Don't press the wrong buttons on me." Oh, yeah?
Pushing my buttons.
Right, it was the other night. Wasn't it so? When he said I had gotten the information from Bob Rosenthal, and I did not. I did not. And Bob told me the next day, yeah, he was so certain, right? You were here. And Bob told me this is the person I'm giving you to. So I said, "Why don't you hit Alan on it?" In fact, I said,
What did you tell him?
"I'm lucky. thank God I never put down Jews in my poetry. In fact, Jews love me because I have two poems where I say, "O noble Jew, man is hard stem of you," right? And I have lived by the grace of Jews and girls, right? So they can't deny me as being anti-Yid, man. Do you remember in the early 50s there was the Cape Man? These were Puerto Rican good-looking kids. They were young kids. The Cape Man who stabbed
Right.
people in the back.
Cape Man.
Right, the Cape Man. All right, here's the guy before the Cape Man, and look what he looked like. Look at this son of a bitch. So all these Puerto Ricans can be very good-looking. Here it is, when they're young. Look at that. He spent 25 years in prison.
Oh,
Tiny
is it?
baby.
He's a tiny baby,
And he's before the, oh yeah.
and he's before the Cape Man. And
Not quite a tiny baby, but he looks so young.
Dig that shit. That's why I got beat up in prison so much, because I was Italian, and they thought I belonged to that gang, the Golden Guineas.
The Golden Guinea.
Yeah. Why do you think they beat me up so much?
How old is that boy? 15?
He's 17, he killed a 15-year-old. But he looks like a baby, man.
But you did too, though, right?
Yeah. They beat the shit out of me. They said, "You're Italian, you belong to the gang."
I thought you had some kind of protection.
In prison I did, but not in the tombs. Hey, in the tombs, everybody from the city, there was a guy next cell to me killed a woman with a fucking screwdriver 24 times.
But the tomb is
It's the place at city jail.
Who was the umbrella man?
Prison.
Remember the Cape Man?
No, it's the city jail. It's when you go to court and they send you to prison or send you out in the street.
So what's the difference?
Well, in prison you got to settle down. In prison, nobody's gonna fuck with you because you can kill them. Whereas in a tombs, which is transitory, is you may get out, you go to court, trial, you never know.
But don't a lot of people kill themselves in the tombs? A lot of kids?
People hang themselves there, yeah. Because it's the first time, and it's very sad and very heavy. It's awful. I've been there when I was 13 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. 4, 5, 6 months at a time. I had easy bail, $50 bail, but I had nobody to bail me out. Nobody. I was an orphan. So I had to spend the hot summers and all that in that hellhole where the majority of blacks were in Harlem and the tombs. They hated the whites, and I was one of the rare whites there. So anybody who stayed there as a white guy and had families must have done a big crime because they couldn't get out on bail because the bail was very high. Mine was $50.
And no one to pay it.
No one
one.
paid. So that helped me only one way. That when the judge saw that, and I came, he said, "Send him home." Time served.
What were you picked up for?
Oh, maybe. That's it. I couldn't remember. They want to find out, seriously, let them go look at the records. Huh? Something, no?
Wow, it really is.
He's in the bars and this guy made all this money on him by doing a book. I remember the case. Hey, 1955?
I remember the Cape
I wasn't
Man.
in
Who
prison
was the
anymore.
umbrella
Thank God.
man?
When 1950 came, I never went back to prison. Except for the 3 days that I spent recently. And that was not bad because that at least brought me back to my old home. I ain't written nothing about that experience. I should. Might help people in the future.
When
Well, they pick you up. You're buying dope. Let's say I'm making a movie, and people are inside. They want to see how dope is bought. So there's a guy set up there to give me a bag of dope, but it ain't real dope. All right, the police see this and they arrest me. And I tell them, "We're doing a documentary. This is not real dope." "We don't care. We saw you buy it." And they put me 3 days from jail to jail, so no lawyer could get to me. Nobody knew where I was. And that's today gotten away with. So when I went to court, they said, yeah, it was not dope. And they let me out. But I had to do 3 days.
And it was the
In
first.
hell. And on the floor, because the 2 black guys in the cell with me were big and strong, and they got the bed. And I'm the elder man, I'm Pops, and I had a cold, and 2 had to sleep on the floor. Which is totally so un-American, my own country that I'm a poet for. What an ugly shit. I gotta do my memoirs. I really gotta do it. Because I think it could benefit people. That if they see that shit going on, that they can pick up anybody and lock them up. That nobody can get to you. They didn't even give me a phone call. They didn't give any heavyweight killer a phone call. What if I had a little baby at house in the home? And me taking care of it? Bastards. I hope this goes to somebody. I hope there's some, this I think is important. I hope it goes to somebody. Because Ginsberg once said the great thing, he said they treat the junkie like the Nazis treated the Jews. Most of the people in jail today are people who take dope. And they don't commit violent crimes. They're only caught buying dope. Not even selling it, but buying it.
I know, that's incredible. It's really sick.
And they fill up the fucking court. $6,000 a day they pay for your stay. I mean, $6,000 a day. You go to Waldorf Astoria, it's not even that. And they give you 1 meal a day. Is a 1 ounce, it has to be 1 ounce, slice of something called ham. Yuck. And 2 slices of bread. Do everything to break you as a human being. Bend over, spread your cheek, boom, boom, boom. Ugly. All the people who work in prison are as ugly as the people who are in prison. Disgusting shit. America sucks, really. You think of the most enlightened, powerful country that would be some way to handle things. They do it better in Sweden and Scandinavia, even Germany, even heavyweight Germany. Treat human beings better. Because what? This city's like a 3rd world country, that's why. He's right about that St. Patrick's Day parade. There'll be no fucking parade, because if you're not going to have it where everybody can march, then nobody march. Fucking hypocrites. But there are no Irish faggots. I mean, Cardinal Spellman was one of the most outrageous queens in the planet. Man. My voice did that. Did my voice knock that microphone down? Wow. All right, Cardinal Spellman was the most outrageous faggot on the planet at the time. And I, as a bad boy in Lincoln Hall, Lincolndale, New York, had to kiss his fucking ring. His Eminence is coming. That's what they told me when I was in a bad boy's home at the age of 13. They said, His Eminence is coming. And all us cute little boys had to kneel down and kiss that fat motherfucker's ring, which was the bone of St. Thomas Aquinas in the Archbishop's ring. Did you know that? The bone of St. Thomas Aquinas.
That I didn't know.
Well, you know what happened to St. Thomas Aquinas, don't you?
I
The Dominicans and the Benedictines were fighting for his body. Okay? So they made a compromise. They boiled down the body and put the fat in jars. The fat went to the Dominicans and the bones went to the Benedictines. Okay? The Benedictines got the better of the deal because they made more money by selling rings with the bone in it as a holy relic.
Yo.
Did you know that?
No.
I'll tell you
What could
another
you do
thing.
with the fat?
Well, you put that in churches, man, and it's pretty. Here's another thing. Mother Cabrini was New York City's first saint. Now, dig this shit what they did with her. The Pope says we need a relic of her. Guess what they did in New York City? They chopped off her fucking head and sent it back to Italy, where they put a wax body to the head. Did you know that?
No.
Now you know. I know all this shit.
It's funny, I taught in a Catholic school, we used to call Francis Spellman Fanny Spellman.
Penny, yeah, everybody knew that. Oh, I'm sure they knew that. Look, Nixon, the night that J. Edgar Hoover died, Nixon called him up and said, look, you gotta quit. So they say that J. Edgar walked through his house, through the great hallway where there was a bust of him, went to the second floor where there was a big picture of himself, and into his four-poster bed, and lie down and died. The next morning when Nixon heard this, he said, why, that old cocksucker.
He finally killed me.
Finally. Yeah, because I'm sure he knew everything was going to come out.
Yeah.
And what an ugly couple, Roy Cohn and J. Edgar Hoover and Francis Spellman. My God, talk about a nightmare party.
Was Francis a friend of theirs?
Yes! They were all at the same
The
time.
biggest mark of his time, too.
They were all at the same. You don't know. You're French, man. You don't know what we're talking about. We're
But
talking
it-
about
but-
big, high-class Americans.
But it's amazing that
I wish the way the guards treated Herbert, they would treat me. That's nice. He lives life to the fullest for his years. Wonderful. I wish the same for me. That's how I'd close it. Although I was in a big prison before he was. Right, I got there in the 40s. And left when 1950 came about. You got to talk to him again, right?
Yeah.
So, you ask him. And ask him about that scene when he came up to Ginsberg's house on 15th Street in 1950. Not many people know about that. I was going to say that for my memoirs, but I gave it to you.
Well,
That, if
Ginsberg's
Ginsberg would have let him in the house, that's when I first would have met Hunky in 1950.
Well, Ginsberg's psychiatrist told him to keep away from Hunky for a while.
Well, let's see. Then Ginsberg's psychiatrist told him to keep away from
No, I
Hunky.
mean, that's later.
Then it wasn't the excuse of that he didn't want me
No,
tainted
later
by
on,
me.
that's later that Ginsberg's
All right.
psychiatrist. That was after the bust and all that stuff.
Yeah, after the
And
bus.
Ginsberg's psychiatrist said, that guy is poison, just keep away from him.
No, I think Ginsberg characters both were angels and saved people like Hunky. They didn't save me because I wrote poetry before I met those assholes. But I think they saved Hunky. For instance, Hunky would never admit it to me, but there was a time, 2 times. One time, Hunky came through, he had to. Because the first time, they were going to send Hunky back to Sing Sing. Alan wrote a beautiful letter to the judge, and Alan's brother got permission from the judge to get Hunky out of jail. And Hunky got out of jail. And I went with Alan's brother to the Tombs, because I said, I want to see this place again, when he got him out of jail. Hunky never recognizes that, but that's a fact of life. Now the second shot, the payoff, was that Hunky helped Alan out this way. The FBI caught Hunky and gave him some marijuana and said, plant this in Ginsberg's house. This is things people don't know, that I know. I'm giving you all my goody gumdrops, you little prick. I'm giving you all my goodies, you little schmuck. Well, I can say for my memoirs. I don't know. As a character of the times, definitely. That he would have the most insight and to give the name beat an explanatory definition, a good define of it, rather than Carrick's beatitude, which is a later stance. The real stance, the hip word of beat, meant being knocked out by all the bullshit around you and all that, tired of it. Yeah, tired of it all. That's the truth. And that's what Hunky had said. So Hunky is the right definer, more than Carrick was in that sense. Beatitude was not it, although I must admit, there were a lot of saintly people around, a lot of good people, and I knew them. I was blessed to know them when I got out of prison. Herbert, I told you, I could have met him early, but Alan wouldn't let him in the house. So it took many years later that I got to know him. Okay?
What about this whole entourage of young people today?
I don't know. I don't bother. I don't, man. I'm out of. I say I'm trying to finish a book here and all.